Hello, Magic fans. This is Mathonical, and this is part 2 in how to win more Magic using math and statistics. We're going to be going over how to use a geometric calculator and how that's going to help you win more Magic. So there's this amazing site that I'm going to include in the description below that will basically do all of the math for you. You might be wondering what a hypergeometric calculator is, and well, this site does go through in quite a bit of detail what all the different parts of it are and what it is with some examples. But for Magic purposes, this is basically going to tell you what are your odds or your probability of drawing a specific card in a specific set of cards or on any specific given turn. Basically, to use this, the easiest way is to give you an example. The population size, you can think of this as how many cards are in your deck. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have 60 cards in your deck. The number of successes in your population, if you wanted to have one of the cards out of your deck that's a 4 of, well, the number would be 4, since there are 4 of that card in your deck. Sample size, if it's your opening hand, that would be 7. And if you want exactly one of them, it would be 1. And if you calculate that, you can find out that you have about a nearly 40% chance of having a given card, if you have a 4 of, in your opening hand. You can also use this for lands. If you have, let's say, 20 lands in your deck, and you want to make sure you have 2 lands in your opening hand, what's the probability of that? Well, you've got a 75% chance with 20 lands. You can also play around with the numbers, and this is really good where it comes to deck building, if you want to find out the exact amount of lands you want to have in your deck. So if you bump that up by 1, you can see that your odds have gone up by about 3% to have that additional land in your opening hand. You can also do this for if you want to make sure you have a certain number of lands by a certain turn. How would you do that? Well, let's say once again we've got the 20 lands in our deck, and we want to say by the third turn we want to have 3 lands. So our opening hand has 7, and if we are on the play, we will have 2 more draw steps before our third turn. If we're on the draw, we'll have 3. So for easy purposes, usually I'll just add the number of turns to the sample size to get a general idea, so that way I'm not flipping between both. So in this case, by the third turn, we'll say it's been a sample size of 10. And we want to make sure we've hit 3 lands by then. So you'll have a 72% chance of having 3 lands by the third turn. So this is very important for some decks, especially like Rally Gond, where you want to make sure you have 3 lands fairly early. And 4 lands is also pretty good. This also comes into effect for Boros Monarch. Of course, for that one, you have to consider that you're going to be drawing additional cards with the Thraben Inspector and various redraw artifacts that you have. And yeah, basically, I can show you some examples of what I've done with this on Rally Gond. I have mentioned in one of my previous videos that I've put a lot of math in behind the scenes for the mana base. Basically, since we are playing a 3-color deck, and 3 colors is fairly difficult to achieve in Pauper, I had to look at it to make sure I had plenty of white sources, since that is the main component of our deck, enough greens that way I can reliably hit the splash color, and on turn 4 I want to be able to play a Presence of Gond if it comes up, if I have the combo. And then I also want to make sure I have enough red sources. Initially, the deck only had Rally the Peasants for the flashback cost, but I realized that since we're already splashing red, if we could somehow increase the number from the 6 or 7 it originally had to the 10 it now has, we'd be able to splash more aggressively with some Pyroblast and such in the sideboard. So, we currently have 18 white sources. So if we quickly plunge in the numbers, we need to make sure that we always have one of these in our opening hand. Like, the deck does not function without white. So currently we have a 93% chance. You can see just by playing with the numbers a little bit, basically the probability starts to drop off, and I felt like having the 93 was the sweet spot. The really good part about Rally Gond is just how reliable it is. We're able to play additional lands because we're leaning fairly heavily on the Sense Enlistment, and because of that, we get to just make our opening hands more reliable so we don't have to mulligan as often. If we continue through with the green sources, there's 15 of them. And you can see by the same calculation that we have an 88% chance of having at least one in our opening hand. Realistically, we don't need it until usually the second or third turn of the game, so we can put in like a sample size of 9. So 94% of the time, we're going to have the green source we need when we need it. Likewise with the red, we only have 10 of that, but we only have 2 splash needed versions of that in the main deck. So realistically, I only need that by like the 4th or 5th turn, so we can say around 12. And you can see, once again, a 91% chance. So there's very small chances that this deck will falter on its colored sources or on, I guess I can quickly show you, the amount of lands either. Because since we have 23, once again, the 3rd turn, we want to make sure we have 3 of them. Almost 83% of the time, we're going to have 3 lands by the 3rd turn. And that is ideal since we want to be able to cast Midnight Guard to start threatening the combo. We want to be having Prismatic Strands available to deal with aggro decks. And just, in general, being proactive with our mana base. Because once we have our mana online, there's a lot of things this deck can do. On the other side, you might notice I have a lot of 3-ofs. Essentially, the way I looked at it is, normally you don't necessarily need this on the 1st turn, but you definitely want them by like the 3rd turn. With this many, you're going to get them about 43% of the time in any given game when you side in 3 of them. When you bring in 4, while the percentage does go up by about 10%, you also have to remember that this is a combo deck, and you're taking out a lot of pieces. You're usually taking out one entire package when you're sideboarding, or most of like either the combo or most of the token or life gain plan. So we don't really have a lot of spaces for things that we can bring in. So 3 is the good number where you're able to have a decent probability of drawing it at a relevant stage in the game, which is a lot better than like a third of the time. So it's really up to you what percentage you feel is necessary for the sideboard plan you're looking for. But this is how you would go about deducing what kind of cards you want in the sideboard. As I've shown you, this is a great way of deciding what kind of land counts you want. So some other ways you can use this for yourself is deciding how many untapped sources you need. Ralligond has a heavy 1-drop and 3-drop without many 2s, so we can get away with a few more tapped lands and just strategically use our untapped lands to play critical creatures or critical number of spells on a given turn. But you might be playing a deck that is more sensitive to having untapped mana, so this would allow you to find out how much untapped mana you have on any given turn. And yeah, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, or to let other viewers know what are some creative ways you've been able to use a hypergeometric calculator to improve your decks and to help you win more Magic. This has been Mathonical, and I thank you for joining me on this mini-series. If you've liked it, let me know, comment, subscribe, and I might be able to produce more content like this in the future. Anyways, have yourself a great day.